Well, thank you, Madam Speaker. This May 2nd marked the first anniversary of the day that Canadians endorsed our government by giving it a majority mandate. With such a clear mandate, we understand that Canadians believe in government aimed directly at job creation, economic growth, and long-term prosperity. And we have proof that the plan is working. Statistics Canada recently announced that 58,200 net new jobs were created in April, with large gains in the private sector, manufacturing, and in full-time positions. We campaigned on a commitment to provide a strong economy for Canadians, not with extravagant promises, but with the proposals and principles now contained in our Economic Action Plan. Part of our plan for economic prosperity is Bill C-11, the Copyright Modernization Act. And the message from Canadians is clear. Canada needs to pass this legislation. And because of this bill, we will finally bring Canada's copyright laws in line with international standards. I'm proud to support a bill that both recognizes how technologies are changing the lives of Canadians and supports the industry and consumers. This bill will help Canadians better address the challenges and opportunities presented by the digital age. It will work in concert with other measures to strengthen our digital economy, including $80 million to accelerate digital adoption by small businesses that was announced in Budget 2011, and the significant funding towards innovation and venture capital in Budget 2012. We are also ensuring Canadians have a world-class digital infrastructure through actions like the auction of spectrum for next-generation wireless networks and services. We are increasing direct support for business innovation with $95 million over 3 years and $40 million per year in ongoing funding to make the Canadian Innovation Commercialization Program permanent. Copyright reform fits within these innovative measures. This legislation reflects our understanding of the critical role new technology plays in creating new ways for consumers to purchase and enjoy copyrighted material. That's why we are creating a better framework in which copyright owners can create and protect their content. This legislation will strengthen our ability to compete in the global digital economy, and it will protect and create jobs, promote innovation, and attract new investment to Canada. Multiple witnesses have come forward to express support for this bill. They acknowledge that the main goal is about protecting and creating jobs while stimulating our digital economy and attracting new investment to our knowledge economy and creating industries. Creative industries, my apologies. As an example, the Entertainment Software Alliance of Canada said that, quote, "We strongly support the principles underlying this bill. This legislation will help provide a framework for the digital marketplace," end of quote. And the Motion Picture Association of Canada has said that, quote, "A healthy film and television industry means more jobs, a stronger economy, and a greater array of entertainment choices for consumers. We support the government's commitment to give copyright owners the tools they need to combat online content theft and promote creativity, innovation, and legitimate business models with the introduction of Bill C-11, the Copyright Modernization Act," end of quote. Mr. Speaker, right holders will finally have stronger legal tools to pursue online pirate sites that facilitate copyright infringement. The amendments will facilitate targeting those who participate in violating rights of creators so that the real criminals can be punished. Another amendment will also eliminate the safe harbor for those who enable the infringement of authors' rights. The legislation will also bring our country in line with the 1996 World Intellectual Property Organization Internet Treaties, including strong legal protections for digital locks, a new liability for those promoting infringement online, and the making available right to ensure control of material over the Internet, we are making sure to protect copyright holders and giving them the ability to defend themselves, while encouraging new ideas whose creativity strengthens our economy. For example, a website run by an individual committed to wide-scale copyright infringement is truly damaging to rights holders. The person operating that site should face the full consequences of their activities. That's why one of the amendments adopted at the committee stage will facilitate targeting those who participate in violating rights of creators on a large scale, so that these types of violators can be punished. This bill will finally give more freedom for consumers while enforcing a hard line against organized piracy. A strong digital economy also requires a connected education sector. As a result of this legislation, libraries, archives, and museums will be permitted to make copies of copyrighted material in an alternative format if there is a concern that the original is in a format that is in danger of becoming obsolete. As well, this bill includes a number of measures that will allow teachers and students to take advantage of digital technologies so they can use copyrighted material in lessons conducted over the Internet. This will help the continued development of distance learning, which is opening up new educational opportunities for those in rural and remote communities. These are just some of the measures in the bill that I fully support. As I mentioned at the beginning of my remarks, Mr. Speaker, this bill is an important step in strengthening our digital economy. As we showed in Budget 2012, we are supporting the development of our digital economy through important measures such as opening the telecom sectors to increase foreign investment and putting new funding towards the IRAP program. This legislation is another step in the process I strongly encourage members to support. Mr. Speaker, Canadians have spoken, and that we have answered. It's time to stop the delays and move forward with the real copyright reform. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Question and commentaire. Questions and comments. The Honourable Member for Hamilton Mountain.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I listened closely to the member's comments, as I did this morning to the comments of the Minister of Heritage when he was vigorously defending the need to close debate on this bill because, as he said, there are a number of validators who have been on the record who are saying enough is enough and this is the right bill. So I just want to put a couple of comments on the record as well, Mr. Speaker, because I think both members have been very selective in their discussion of this bill. Let me first of all quote Michael Geist. Everybody here would know him as a renowned technology commentator, as he puts it very succinctly. The foundational principle of the new bill remains that any time a digital lock is used, whether on books, movies, music, or electronic devices, the lock trumps virtually all other rights. This means that both the existing fair dealing rights and Bill C-11's new rights all cease to function effectively so long as the rights holder places a digital lock on their content or device. Now, Mr. Speaker, there are others. I know I don't have time to quote them all, but the Cultural Industries Writers Guild of Canada, SOCAN, Samuelson Glushko Canadian Internet Policy and Public Interest Clinic, all of these people have serious concerns about the bill, and I wonder whether the member would choose to address even one of them, since in his own comments he said there are only some parts of the bill that he supports. Thank you.
Honourable Member for Don Valley West.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Member opposite for her comments. Clearly, this bill has been a long time in coming. This is the third iteration. This is the third time we've debated this bill. There's been lots of discussion, debate, and committee work around it. 70 witnesses most recently, and 150 submissions. I think clearly the information that's been provided, the opportunity for thought and discussion and debate has come to an end, and we have a bill today that clearly will serve the purpose of this nation as we go forward. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Questions and comments? The Honourable Member for Winnipeg North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, when the member says, you know, we've had good lengthy debate on it, it's interesting. The longer that this debate seems to go on, the more the government even admits that there's a need for more changes, because they're even bringing in more amendments for the legislation. Mr. Speaker, my question is related to an earlier question I asked of one of his colleagues, and I would ask it in the sense of it would be wonderful to get some clarifications on this point. I looked at the member and I asked the member, if one of his constituents was to go to a local store, purchase a CD, and then take that CD home, should that constituent of his have the right to be able to put that song, his favorite song or whatever it might be, onto one or two of his own MP3 players strictly for personal use? Should he be able to do that?
Honourable Member for Don Valley West.
Mr. Speaker, and I thank the honourable member for his question, and I did hear him ask that question yesterday, as a matter of fact. The bill calls for those who clearly intend to circumvent the law to be punished and to be challenged on this and to be dealt with in this situation. I think that the bill, I believe the bill implies clearly that the intent is for those who take a CD home, who want to put it on their MP3 or some other device. If there's no digital lock, there's not a problem. But the question is relative to a digital lock, and in fact, if it's an intentional circumvention of the law, then for commercial purposes, for piracy, etc., then I think you've got a situation that definitely calls for action by the authorities.
We have time for a short question. Order. We have time for a short question and response. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Industry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Member for his fantastic speech. I would just note, in terms of the opposition comments about the amount of consultation, amount of debate on this particular issue, that it has literally had hours and hours and hours of debate between C-32 and C-11, C-32 in the last Parliament. It is, we've seen about 180 individual witnesses come before committee, and between the two, dozens of hours of committee hearings. I'm wondering if the Honourable Member might comment on, in his experience in the House, if he's seen this level of debate in any other bill.
Honourable Member for Don Valley West.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my colleague. As he knows, I'm a new member to the House as of a year ago, and so in my experience, no, I haven't seen this type of debate, this length of review, and so I think that we are at a time when it's time for the opposition parties to join the government and support this bill. Thank you.
Resuming debate.